forward, follow me. If I hesitate, push me. If I may kill me, avenge me. If I am a traitor, kill me.
Gangsters, cops, and politicians, get ready to rock. On a mission, each one of us shares our own vision. When I was on the yard, I went real hard. While I patrolled the streets, all the G's on me. When I was on the yard, I went real hard. While I patrolled the streets, all the G's on me.
All right. It's your host, Gabe Morales, returning for our series of Nuestra Familia members over the past 6 decades or so. Today, we're going to cover the T last names, as in torcidos. Like I said, everybody I mentioned here have been locked up at least once, and usually a lot more than that. Some of these individuals are doing life. I would say that some of them probably should never get out. And there's others who changed their ways from their younger days, many who are now out in the streets, or hopefully one day will get paroled. As I always tell people, most of these guys do get released one day. So if we want them to change their ways, we got to help them mentally, physically, and spiritually. That means getting some better life skills training and transitioning them to the community where hopefully they have a good support system and can once again become contributing members of our society. Today, I'll start off with Larry Cub Tapis, who was out of Salas. He was an NF member in the early 1970s under B number 16551. Understand that he was very close to Copas Gallegos, and that his sister, Christina, aka Brown Eyes, married an NF member by the name of Joe Cobos. But I understand that Cub left the organization by the late 1970s. There was Ronald Snake Taylor out of Oakland. I show he also was an NF member in the 1970s under B number 49310. I show that he was incarcerated at the California Conservation Center in 1974 and paroled in August of 1976. However, I show he returned to DVI in 1977 at a time when many NF members were housed there. He ended up being housed at CIM in Chino in 1980, and I understand dropped out of the organization. There was George Gattenorio out of San Juan. He was born in 1946 and became an NF member in the 1970s. However, my understanding is that he wasn't a very good NF member, even though he wrote essays and reports as required for membership in the NF. And eventually it was decided that he needed to be taken out and was killed by the NF on January 2nd, 1976 by Joe Cobos and Daniel Smiley Ramos. I understand that when Felipe Bruiser Rios dropped out and debriefed, he told investigators that the hit on Tenorio was ordered by Death Row Joe. Actually, this turned out to not be the case, and it was found that Bruiser had ordered the hit without authorization from the upper echelon. There was Luis Carlos, aka Carlitos Terrazas. I understand that his primo or cousin was Chim Chim Salamida, who I mentioned a couple episodes ago. I show that Carlitos was born in Mexico, but grew up in San Jose. He was a Northern Structure member in the 1980s under D number 87133. And I understand by the late 1980s, he was considered to be a maestro or teacher of the Northern Ways, aka the XIV bonds. I show that he was housed at the Santa Clara County Jail in 1990 through 1991. He returned to CDC under J numbers in John 9774. He may have been housed at San Quentin in 1994. However, I have hard documentation he was housed at Corcoran Shoe in 1995, who operated under codename Teresa and was considered to be a unit commander. Understand he was housed at Pelican Bay in the year 2000. However, per Cornelio Perez, he was deemed to be not NF. And as you know, there was a lot of confusion and turmoil in the NF around the time of Operation Black Widow and was returned to Corcoran in 2002. It's my understanding that Wino was with him at that time and considered to be a captain in the NF. And as stated previously, both these guys had a lot more involvement than most people realize. I understand that was documented as being an NF under Operation Black Widow in early 2001. I show he paroled in 2002 and understand was off that number by 2006. There was a Benny, aka Monster Thierry, who's out of Sanjo. I understand that he operated with Charlie Campa, but also operated with Boxer Mendoza and Wino Ramirez in the San Jose area. I show that he was a meth dealer in Soldado in the year 2001. He then ended up getting sent to CDC under T numbers in Thomas 79410. Understand he was indicted in the year 2009 and ended up flipping and testifying against longtime NF member Dancing Bear Miramontes and Michael Raton Ortiz. I believe his mentor, John Boxer Mendoza, was also a government witness in that case, and he was documented as being a dropout at that time. There was Christopher Demon Tobias V Hill out of Chico. Understand that he was a NF associate in the mid-1990s under K number 81111. That's right, 4 ones. He ended up being indicted by the feds and sent to the BOP under number 16567-097. I show that he was housed at USP McCreary in 2011, and I understand that he ended up running afoul of the NF and was hit on March 27th, 2013 at McCreary by Paul Killinger and Leonard Vilches on orders of Mad Dog Cervantes. There was a Marco Flaco Topete out of Woodland. I showed that he was locked up in the Youth Authority in 1990, but was released from there from the YA by 1992. Understand he was Northern Structure in the 1990s under H number 75184. I show he got parole violation in 1997. However, he was not validated until 1999. I showed then he was housed at Pelican Bay State Prison in the year 2000, but was released. I show he got parole violation 2007 when he was housed at DVI. And on June 15th, 2008, was involved in a homicide of a Yolo County deputy. I show that he was housed at San Quentin in 2013 and ended up signing off on the peace treaty with the AMA while housed there, which at the time was still a no-no as far as the NF is concerned. However, I don't know how much flack he got over that. There was a Gray Goofy Torres, who was out of Northside Stockton and was a young follower of the Northern Structure. I believe he did YA time. However, ended up moving, here we go again, to Washington State, and I believe was living in Kent, Washington, when he was convicted of a homicide. I recall this guy very clearly, and Aisha was sent to Washington DOC under number 845034. However, then was sent to our custody at the King County Jail, where he was placed in the inmate management unit for displaying violence and serious property damage, such as here, where he cut a welga bird into his cell window. I interviewed Goofy several times, and he always was compliant with me. However, it was obvious to me that he was a hardcore norteño. And before he was sent out from our facility, he gave me this drawing here that he said basically was a mural of art he did on separate papers that made one big drawing that I ended up gluing to some cardboard. And I used it as my classes as an example of the gang mindset. He ended up being indicted by the feds under BOP number 98274-011. And he was housed at various facilities, including Pollock, where he was housed with multiple NF members and Soldados. However, I show he's currently not in BOP custody. As I show, he was returned to Washington DOC and is currently housed at Airway Heights Correction Center. There was Wayne Townsley, who I believe was out of Salinas. I show he was incarcerated in CDC in the mid-1970s under B number 55957. I show that he was an NF member from 1974 to 1975 at DVI. I then show he was released and was involved in the homicide of Gloria Rice that I covered a few episodes in December 1976. I show he was at San Quentin in 1984, at which time I believe he was considered to be a dropout. Then we have Cornelio, aka Corney Tristan out of Woodland. Tristan has a very interesting history. Understand that he was more of a tagger and would often sniff the paint while he was a teenager. Understand that he ended up stabbing a taxi cab driver to death in 1977, whereby he was sent to the Youth Authority. Understand he ended up being sent to the Adult Authority in April of 1978 when he was assigned B number 92248. He ended up catching a couple bodies while locked up in the 1970s through early 80s at DVI, and eventually was sent to Folsom 4A, whereby he has been documented as being one of the authors of the XIV bonds, along with individuals such as Copas Gallegos, Brown Montes, and Mano Sosa. He ended up being sent to Tehachapi Shoe when it opened in the 1980s, and then was moved to Corcoran Shoe in 1988 when it opened. Then, once Pelican Bay opened in 1989, he was shipped there and was considered to be a captain. He soon ended up being elevated to general status and has long been a general on the overall governing body. Once again, it hasn't officially been called a mesa in the NF Constitution since the 1980s. He ended up being indicted on the 2001 Operation Black Widow RICO case. Corney Tristan, Tibbs Morado, Pinky Hernandez, as well as Tex Hernandez and Cuete Rubalcaba were all convicted under Operation Black Widow and was sent to the ADX, where he's been housed for many years. I'm not sure when it occurred, but I have pictures of him when he's booked into the BOP, and I don't believe he had any tattoos on his chest. At least the BOP reception center did not document any or take any pictures of those. However, as you see here, he now has the NF sombrero and machete with blood dripping from it proudly displayed on his chest. Also understand he's quite the artist, which is pretty common amongst these guys, as they're doing all day. Corney, along with one of his strongest supporters, Skip Villanueva, were strongly against the state faction of the NF signing off on the end of hostilities agreement, and I believe Pinky Hernandez backed them up. However, Tibbs Morado questioned if this was a wise move, and I believe it was one of the reasons why he was hit by Cuete Rubalcaba, covered a few episodes ago, and Tibbs soon died from complications resulting from that attack. Corney still has an extremely influential voice within the organization today and is 62 years of age. My good friend Brian Perry, who oversaw all prison gang investigations with the Special Services Unit, testified at the trial. The investigation led to over 150 arrests and approximately 300 death threat notifications. So like I've said many times, while the operation severely impacted Nuestra Familia operations, it surely did not end it. In fact, may have only spread the cancer throughout other states in the U.S., where Norteños idolize the NF. Then we have James Huevo Trujeque, who I mentioned briefly in the last episode. He is also a longtime NF member, having been active with the organization since the 1970s. I show he was indicted on the 1992 RICO case for homicides he committed. James Huevo Trujeque, Bobby Silent Lopez, and Hermenio Pinky Serna were all given the death penalty and placed on San Quentin's death row at San Quentin under K number 76701. And he is still housed at San Quentin, being 71 years of age. There was Ralph Sonny Trujillo, who's out of Selma. I show that he was a Northern Structure member in the 1990s under D number 9285. And I believe that he was one of the artists who came up with the Nuestra Raza logo around 1993 through 94. I show that he has been housed at Pelican Bay for many, many years now, where he currently resides. And lastly, today we have Stephen Esteban Trujillo out of San Jose. I show that he was a Northern Structure member in the mid-1990s under J number 87323. I show he was housed at Pelican Bay Shoe in the year 2012 and then at Corcoran in 2015, but then was moved to Salinas Valley State Prison in 2016. It is my understanding that Trujillo was loyal to the federal faction of the NF. I understand he was named in a RICO case, and it was mentioned that in 2015, he was involved in a murder conspiracy that resulted in an inmate being repeatedly stabbed at Solano prison located in Vacaville. The investigation also found that in 2017, Trujillo had a smuggled-in contraband cell phone in his cell and made multiple calls, coordinating the movement of thousands of dollars worth of drugs in multiple counties all over Northern California. He ended up being convicted in that case and given 88 months under BOP number 63365-509. He ended up being shipped to the ADX, where he currently resides. He is not scheduled for release until December 2028. And so, that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Always stay thankful for what you got and continue to be blessed. And you stay trucha, stay aware, stay alert, and stay safe. For now, this is Gabe Morales signing off for Gangsters, Cops, and Politicians. If I go forward, follow me. If I hesitate, push me. If they may kill me, avenge me. If I am a traitor, kill me.
Gangsters, cops, and politicians.